Hello and welcome to another update video about VeChain. VeChain currently 9% or nearly 10% up in the last 24 hours. That is surely related to the small pump that we've seen for Bitcoin. Well, actually small pump, actually a 10 to 11% upside for Bitcoin is actually quite significant in the last 24 hours, which is good to see for the whole crypto market. Yeah. A lot of cryptos that have reached the target area already, for example Solana here, now with a 14% upside. What else has reached the target area? We had Chainlink, that's a 6% upside. We had Algorand, 6% upside. We had Phantom. Phantom hasn't reached the target area yet. I'm sure we are going to get there. But yeah, cryptos are doing well at the moment, and VeChain finally moving as well. VeChain getting to another tipping point here. So this is of course the overall correction here for VeChain. We can see it after that larger wave 1. We are now in a larger wave 2. Is it complete yet? Personally, I don't think so yet, but in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter, and I get to that in a minute. Here we are still, in my view, in a wave 2 until we've seen confirmation it is otherwise. Of course, I have to assume it because we have recently made a lower low. But anyway, we have then come down in this A, B, C. We are now in the wave C within a larger wave 2. Okay, a wave 2 typically comes down a lot, yeah, and this makes me very confident to say that we are in a wave 2 because, you know, a wave 2 typically is very much in the beginning of a trend, and you can see that this here really was VeChain's first wave 1, and this is a wave 2. You can see on this chart very beautifully why I don't like to use in any way the log charts for the Elliott wave method, because this is clearly the first major wave for VeChain. Yeah, the log chart destroys what is so critical in Elliott wave analysis, which is the relationships between waves. This is clearly the first wave. This is clearly the second wave. Yes, there were waves 1s and 2s before, but these are all building the foundation for future growth here. This was not a wave 3. It is in no relationship to previous waves. This is clearly a big wave 1 and big wave 2. Now, a wave 2 typically, and I showed you in a previous video the Apple chart from the 1980s, 1990s, which did basically the same movement. And you can go to any or most stocks and shares that did similar movements when they were first established. And that is because, like many altcoins now, the new assets, for example, they are very volatile, and they do this. They have to build a foundation for the future, and cryptos do it as well. VeChain does it. And if a project doesn't die, it's going to grow. Otherwise, it would just die. You know, if there was no higher level uptrend, the project would die, or the chart would die, the asset would die. Now, anyway, so after this, after this wave 1 and 2, what can we expect here? So for everybody who's not really familiar with the Elliott wave analysis, and this just very simply, so this was a wave 1, this is a wave 2, next would be a wave 3, then you get your wave 4 correction, and the wave 5 would be the final wave, after which you get an ABC correction, after which you start another 5-wave pattern to the upside. Yeah, in the most simple form that is. Right, so for VeChain we said that the next wave up, the next wave 3, which would be the next wave up, should take us to at least 45 cents. Therefore, from my point of view, and this is no financial advice, this is what I think, the current prices are a bargain. Okay, the correction will be finished at some point. I know people get scared when prices drop that much and the corrections have been taking so long, but this is exactly what we've been saying since the end of November, that we are in this correction, and it will take until we get into this target area for VeChain to make a turnaround. Now, VeChain hasn't made a significant turnaround yet. However, what is good to see is that we had this long wick to the downside, yeah, which could be considered a bullish pattern, and that we actually, with the daily candles here, found support above this 4.3 cent level or 4.4 cent level. Nevertheless, it made a lower low, and therefore my primary expectation would be still that we haven't seen the low yet. Of course, you know, that can change. That can change, for example, if we break this descending trend line. We are still in this descending channel, as you can see here. However, it's good to see that we see a nice green candle. But don't forget, when we moved down here on the 22nd, 23rd of January, after that, I told you as well that we probably see a bit of a relief rally now, and we did see that. Yeah. and then we have come down again. And now, of course, we could see a bit of a relief rally again until we make a significantly higher high, at least here above, 7 cents, this previous high here. I'm not convinced that the downtrend is over, okay? Especially because we made a lower low here. But short-term gains could of course be possible. And yes, it can move into if you see the first 5-wave structure emerging here, this could mark the end of the correction, of this overall correction. And as I said before, these target areas here, they are not there for fun. We had them on the chart since November, and this target area is the area from which at any point in time the correction can be finished. Yeah, these are the areas where cryptos and young assets with the highest probability in a wave 2, in which we currently are doing that turnaround, and that can happen fast. Yeah, and for me personally, the best strategy is not to chase the lowest low, not to wait, but to dollar cost average in at the current levels. That is what I'm doing. I can't wait for the lowest low because, first of all, it might never come. There might not be a lower low, even though I think primarily we are going to see the 3.3 cent level again. But again, that could be, maybe we go up here a little bit and then come down once more. This is all possible. But for me, the current prices are very attractive. 4.9 cents at the moment. If we expect here, and if we talk about a potential 45 cent VeChain, then these prices are really attractive from my point of view, So that is what we expect here for VeChain. Overall, let's take a look at the indicators. But why is actually VeChain now at a tipping point? Well, if we make that a bit larger, you can see that VeChain is getting very, very close to that resistance level here. And I think if we were to break it today, we would need to get above 5.3 cents. Yeah, if you get above that and maybe retest that from above, yes, you could see some more upside certainly, because that is restricting VeChain at the moment. So this descending channel is restricting VeChain, but not only that, also here the EMA ribbon. So when you cross that channel to the upside, you will also cross the EMA ribbon. And VeChain hasn't really been above the EMA ribbon since the middle of November. And also middle of November is then at some point here when we talked about this price target here. That is when that EMA ribbon was crossed to the downside. And that EMA ribbon acts, of course, as resistance if the price is below that, and will act as support if the price gets above it again. And we can take a look at that on different time frames. Here on the 8-hour chart again, the EMA ribbon is still above VeChain, or VeChain is still below the EMA ribbon, trying to get through now, but hasn't done it yet. On the 4-hour chart, it has now moved above it, but bear in mind that on the 4-hour chart, for example, it's much more volatile, so you can get some fake outs more frequently as well. So for me, like the 8-hour and the daily, they are very reliable in terms of the EMA ribbon. They show the higher level trend direction, and this is still pointing to the downside. And this is the case until it gets different, until it changes really. So that is certainly something important to look at, the EMA ribbon. And also what we like to take a look at to understand where we are and if the momentum might change is here the RSI. The RSI was very, very attractive, very low. We had a buy signal down here, 24th of January. That's when we talked about the potential of rising prices, and that happened. Then of course it moved around again and we made a lower low, as we know. But again here, we came very, very low on the RSI, not quite oversold yet. And we are moving up slightly at the moment, but nothing too crazy. Still in the bearish range here. No change really in momentum. What is important to understand though, that we might see here a bullish crossover with a high certainty probably tomorrow on the daily chart that could lead to rising prices and could support higher prices and could support a breaking of the resistance line. Yeah. And to be fair, this is what we are expecting anyway, because at any point here, because the yellow target area was reached and VeChain has done what it needs to do in the correction. Extremely happy that we have reached this target area, that the price is adhering very well to the yellow target area, and that at any point now the correction could be over. And as I say, I do expect still primarily lower levels, but I have invested the majority of my funds that I have allocated for VeChain already into VeChain, and I only leave a smaller amount now for the lowest level, because it might never come, and if it comes, I'm happy that I also have some money left over for that lowest level. Very interesting is the 4-day chart, because if you see here on the 4-day chart, if we get this bullish crossover here, that could be a big move. You know, obviously the higher the time frame, the bigger the moves. If you get one of these buy signals, it is about to turn around here, that 4-day chart. MACD, we talked about it in the last video already. Didn't look that convincing, but now it's looking more convincing. Probably still a week away or a couple of weeks away. But if that bullish crossover happens, that would be another buy signal. So take a look and keep an eye on the 4-day MACD here. The weekly chart doesn't really show anything significant yet, so still too far away from any potential buy signal. But yeah, here the even the 2-day chart is starting to move up. Yeah, so that is quite meaningful as well. So from my point of view, no change in expectations at the moment. So from me personally, because we made that lower low recently, I still have to expect lower prices. Otherwise, I would change my scenario at any point in time whenever anything happens. But no, I stick with my primary scenario until I'm proven otherwise. And the indicators support higher prices, which doesn't mean it needs to happen, but they would support higher prices. And we are getting close to resistance. So what I can tell you, if we break that resistance level and see the volume, then you can go certainly higher. And then we can go, in the first instance, I would say, to that 7-cent level here, that wave C top. And then the next move would, in my view, be already to 10 cents. Yeah. And when we reach 10 cents and even break that, I think then the downtrend is over. I think that is what we could assume, but then we also need to see a higher low and a 5-wave structure. And I, of course, keep you updated about that. And that should be a great outcome for everybody who has been dollar cost averaging in with me. And channel members, of course, know my buy orders that I did set for VeChain. And yeah, if you also want to see these and get a lot of additional content, then maybe check out the channel membership. You can find the links for that in the description. But that is pretty much what I can tell you about VeChain now. Told you about support and resistance levels. Told you about the price expectation, the price prediction for 2022. Depending on how fast the correction is over, I think this 45-cent level that I talked about could be seen this year. Yeah, it's not a promise, of course, but I think it is fairly likely. And yeah, we talked about my expectation for what the price is doing next. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the update. If you did, please smash the like button and subscribe. And as always, if you really like the content, then check out the channel membership. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye bye.